Good morning. I am your host, Patrick Lee, and it's time for Midweek Motivation Live. We're going to be talking about sabotage, sabotaging yourself today. Don't sabotage your success. I want to talk to you about that. Many of us go through things, seasons in life, to where we feel like we have achieved some level of success on the road, on the journey towards our goals. And all of a sudden, we start getting a little lax in our attack. And we have about 8 different ways that we can sabotage our success. And I want to talk to you about that today on Midweek Motivation Live. We're going to be back in just a moment and we will dive into it. You guys get ready. We'll be right back. And we are back with Midweek Motivation Live. Today's topic: don't sabotage yourself. Don't suicide your success. It's another way that we have heard that said. People tuning in already to watch the show. We appreciate that. Midweek Motivation Live, is now available on all major podcast platforms. Wherever you watch your podcasts, consume your content, Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee can be found there. Let me adjust this camera just a little bit. Get as much clarity and get my 60-year-old face here in the middle of the screen. I appreciate you guys coming to watch each and every week the show. We try to bring you good content. We recently had Bob Goshen on. That was a great show. I recently had lunch with a more of a relatively new friend and got to learn a little bit more about his story. And I'm interested in having him on. An incredible story of redemption. Had lunch with him recently, and I'm going to be looking into getting him on the show soon. That would be a great person to have on the show. But I want to talk to you today about your journey, your goal. And the title of the show today is Don't Sabotage Yourself. How many of you have found yourself setting goals? We talk about goals a lot on the show, how to actually set goals, how to break them all down. Let me silence all of my other media. People always seem to want to start to jump in on the phone whenever it's time for the show to be live. But you've set goals, you put a plan in motion, and you start moving forward, and then out of the blue, you start achieving a little bit of success. And then for some reason, it always seems to fall apart. How many of you have ever been there? Raise your hand. Give me a like, a love, send me a comment. You've been there. I have been there many times. Years ago, I was offended by a business owner. I had bought a business from a personal friend, her and her husband, and they had owned this business for years and had achieved a certain level of success. And they never really went very far. They seemed to hit a ceiling and just stop. Well, I ended up buying the business from them. And within about a month or so, they had commented to my wife that they hoped that I stuck it out and that I was successful in the business. And they made a comment along the lines of they believed that I was a 2-year man, meaning that I would get involved in a business or a job and I would last about 2 years and I would move on to something else. And that was really struck me to the core. And it caused me to do a lot of introspection, a lot of self-seeking and looking in the mirror and into my eyes and doing some soul searching, the word I was looking for. Patrick Lee is a 2-year man. I was a little offended by that. But they had seen some things in my life, maybe that I hadn't realized in just talking. I hadn't known them that long, but probably through some of the conversations we have had. And I had told them about the many different careers that I had when I moved to Texas when I was younger. I did go through a bunch of jobs trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. And many people do that when they're younger. How many of you have gone from job to job? Many of you have gotten into a career. Maybe you've gotten a degree in college and you thought that's what you wanted to do, but then you found out that you really didn't enjoy the field that your degree was in. And I've heard there are many high statistics about it. I'm not going to quote one, but I know that the numbers are high, that people that get into a specific career don't necessarily enjoy it, and they don't end up working in the field that their degree is in. Many of you can testify to that, that you're in that same position. My wife is in that same position. My daughters have their degrees. Both of my daughters went to school, got a degree, and neither one of them are working in their degree. My younger daughter is doing art. Her degree, I believe, was in applied sciences, but she did take art and literature and computers while she was in school, and she does that here working for me at the Patrick Lee Group. So she's working in that a little bit, but not necessarily in what her degree is in. But when you're a younger, you're trying to find your way. I moved to Texas when I was 21 years old, nearly 21, 20 years old. Moved away from the Oregon coast, moved to Texas with a friend. They didn't stay, and I did by myself. At 21 years old, I was left in Texas alone. I had made a couple of friends, and I did go through a few jobs when I was younger. And it seems like I would get into this career. It sounded good. A friend would refer me to somebody, and I would go try out that job. And within a few months, I would get a feel of this is something I want to do or something I really don't want to do. And when I was younger, my first legitimate job was working in a supermarket. When I turned 15 and a half, 16, I'd had a few jobs before that, washing dishes, working in restaurants, trying to earn a little money, but I wanted to have a career. My first serious job was working in a supermarket. But when I got to Texas, I worked in pizza. I ran a delivery service. I was a taxi driver. I worked at a full service gas station and sold propane, sold novelties on a street corner, ran fast food joints, you name it. I had done it in my younger days, but this lady had said I was a 2-year man, and I was offended by that. And I had to do something just to prove her wrong. What I ended up doing in that business that I bought from her, I more than doubled the sales that she had in her best year. I more than doubled them in my first year. And I did end up running that business for multiple years and then selling it for a profit to a business owner friend of mine when we made the decision for health and family reasons to move back to Amarillo. Sold that successful business, came back out here and got back in the supermarket business, worked there for years and years before I got into commission sales. I was not going to allow myself or my past or my history to sabotage my future. And what I learned was there are about 8 topics that most people get into when they are moving forward. They start to gain a little momentum, and then for some reason, you end up finding everything falling apart. And what usually happens, aside from a catastrophic failure from a partner or something, economical happening, most of the time it's us. We have found the enemy, and he is us. When our businesses fail, we have sabotaged that in some way, shape, or form. And I've got about 8 different topics on here that I want to talk about briefly as we get through the show, just to help you recognize some of these things that you may be experiencing in your own life. You've started moving forward. You're working your business plan, right? You plan your work, then you work your plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So make a plan first, make it clear so you can run, and then get busy in it, but don't sabotage yourself. The number one way many of us sabotage ourselves is through this enemy, the enemy of procrastination. Tomorrow is a good day. If today's a good day to do something, tomorrow is an even better day to do something. If today is the best day to get something done, actually it's the second best day because yesterday was the best day. Have you ever started doing something and it turned out great, and you find out that the only negative comment you can make about it is you wish you started sooner? That's what the enemy of procrastination does to us. It causes us to hesitate. And when you're moving forward towards success, procrastination is the number one killer of momentum. You start to get a little momentum. Oh, Jordan, look at you, Pastor. Look at that view. Yes, 18th floor of the downtown tower, the First Bank Southwest Tower. Love you, man. Love you. Roberta, thank you. You definitely have been there, done that also. We all could raise our hand and say that we are guilty of some of these self-sabotage techniques, right? I, for years, was the chief procrastinator. If it's a good idea today, I had this from my granddad. If it's a good idea today, don't jump into it. It'll be good tomorrow. So sleep on it. And I thought that was wisdom. So I would put things off for a day, but the early bird gets the worm, right? You've got to jump on some things to make sure they're taken care of. And you're the first person there, first person with the idea, or first person to market with the idea. Do not procrastinate. Continue to move forward. Hello, Larry. Good to see you on here as well, my friend. Number two, the fear of failure. This was one that I dealt with in the early days heavily, fear of failure. And everyone would say, what's the worst thing that could happen if you tried? And my answer in my brain, I wouldn't say it out loud, but in my brain, in my soul, was the worst thing that could happen was I could succeed. But even worse was if I failed, what would people think about me? And what I realized, and someone had to teach me over the years, is that I do not have the right to someone else's opinion about me. That is theirs and theirs only. They may trash talk me, they may badmouth me, but that is their opinion of me. And the things that people say to me do not apply to me. They may hurt my feelings, but all my feelings do, and all your feelings do, is tell you how you feel. And you can get over that. In the morning, yes, I am happy when I wake up. I decide in the morning when I get up that it's going to be a wonderful day, and I do not allow anyone to change my mind all day. And that's how I stay in this happy state. But the fear of failure was very real to me, and it would sometimes petrify me into not moving forward. It would be the paralysis of analysis. What could go wrong? It probably will go wrong. And that takes us into our next topic, number three, negative self-talk. How many of you are guilty of talking badly about yourself? Now, there are times that self-deprecation or self-deprecating humor is funny. We don't want to think more highly of ourselves than we should, but who's to say that we shouldn't think highly of ourselves, right? We sometimes, I am my own best company. So I'm in a conversation with myself. If I'm self-employed, so if you hear me talking to myself, don't interrupt me. I'm having a staff meeting. But negative self-talk is one of the top things that people get involved in. You start saying, well, that success would never happen to me. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the education to achieve this certain level of success. I can achieve this low level, but that's as high as I'll ever go. There's a glass ceiling I'll never be able to break through. I don't have the education to achieve the same amount of success that so-and-so does. That kind of negative self-talk is it's one of the top ways for you to sabotage your success. You're literally committing verbal suicide of your success. You have to learn to start speaking more positively about yourself. You need to become your own best cheerleader. If you're married and your spouse is your cheerleader, that's wonderful. But you need to become your own cheerleader as well. You need to tell yourself that you are successful, that you are handsome, that you are blessed and not cursed. You're the head and not the tail. You have bright ideas and you're going to achieve witty inventions. You could write books. You can run a business. You're the best looking man or woman in the room. You know what I mean? These are the things you need to start telling yourself. Yes, Mason says he's constantly having internal staff meetings. That's right. My head is always in a staff meeting. Sometimes you have to say things to me twice because I'm too busy talking to myself to listen to you. Hello, Sal. Good to see you watching as well. We're talking about Don't sabotage yourself today. And this negative self-talk is one of the top ways that people do end up sabotaging their success. And it can be something as simple as being in a conversation with a friend and talking about our next topic, comparison. Comparison is called the enemy of happiness. Comparison is the enemy of success. Comparison is the enemy of joy. We do not have the right to compare ourselves to anyone else. When you do, you need to realize this one thing. You are comparing your insides, your mind, body, and spirit, your thoughts, your soul that you know, that you think, and that you feel on the inside against what you see about someone else on the outside. Never get caught in the comparison game. It is the enemy of happiness, the thief of joy, and a lead weight attached to your ankle when you're trying to move forward. You do not ever compare yourself to someone else unless it's in your positive self-talk. I am smart. I am intelligent. I am witty. I am handsome. I am pretty. All of the things you need to say, but not in the manner of comparing yourself against someone else. You literally are comparing your insides against someone else's outsides. And how many of you know everything that you see on social media is contrived? I can write a great title about myself. I can write a great 2 or 3 lines about my level of success. I can look really good on the camera, but you don't even know if I'm wearing pants under this screen, right? Everything on the social media can be contrived or made up, and you're comparing their outsides to your insides, and that's not fair. Number one, to them, but number two, to you. Don't ever get caught in the comparison trap. Next topic, fear of change. This is another one that many people that are a little bit older in life, maybe you've been in a business for a while and you start seeing new techniques, new tricks, new trends coming out, and you tell yourself that I have achieved the level of success I have by doing things the same way time after time after time. And it's a time proven technique for me. And I don't want to change. Well, what could happen if you changed? What could happen if you adapted some AI into your podcast? What would happen if you added social media or live video to your business plan and you started putting yourself out in front of people, showing them what you have to sell, what you do for a living, what you have to offer to the marketplace or to your relationships and your friends? If you started doing that and putting yourself out there, how much more would your business grow? Fear of change is one of the other things that people that have been in business, like I said, for a few years, that's one of the things that really slows people down. It causes them to start sabotaging their business. You achieve a level of success and then you stop and you start going backwards. In business, you're either growing or you're receding. There's no such thing as standing still. If you're afraid of change, you need to change a couple of people or add a couple of people into your sphere of influence that can help you in a kind way, pull you out of that fear, show you the fire in your soul. And one of the best ways to get out of the fear of change is to go back to your motivation. Why did I start doing what it was that I do? What was it that motivated me to get into the career that I ended up choosing and that I've been doing now for the last few years? What was that motivation? Was it family? Was it time freedom? Was it financial success? Was I tired of chasing or running away from the bill collectors, calling on credit card debt or whatever? My wife is a collector for one of the largest privately owned, family owned banks in America and potentially the world, and she's a debt collector. So if you're behind on a car payment, a truck payment, some kind of a personal line loan with that bank, my wife is one of the people. They're called special assets people. And people start these things and they get afraid of change and they end up, my wife is in this career and she's loving it. But every day she comes home and she may tell me of an instance of something that's going on that may be stressful, but At the end of the day, she's able to help so many people. She enjoys doing what she does. And she's not my age. She is younger than me, but we have some gray in our hair. You'll never know it in hers because it's colored a beautiful red. But change could do you good, as Cheryl Crow says. Amen, Cody. Little change is good for you, right? Get some people into your life that can help bring you out of that. They can help reawaken that fire in your spirit, that drive that got you motivated in the beginning, that helped you achieve the level of success that you have. Go back to that motivation, that thought, whatever it was that caused you to get into this. Roberta says, I don't like stepping out of my comfort zone. This is when I compare myself to others and the self-sabotage sets in. Amen. I understand, Roberta. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today. It happens to so many people. It's happened to me in my real estate business. In the beginning, I had a job and I wanted to get into real estate. The company I was working for was a 100% commission sales job. And I was out of town a week and I was in town a week. And I went from making a large commission to about a 40% commission cut when the company was bought out by another company. At that time, I've always been a person that I believe God shows me in my spirit when it's time to make a change. And I'm not afraid of that. And through the years, my wife has learned to recognize that I have a good eye for that. It's a spirit of discernment. I can tell when things are fixing to go south, it's time for me to move on to a better opportunity. And when God opens a door of opportunity and there's a plan I can put in place to go and succeed, I'm going to go after it. That's my nature. And that's probably why in the beginning, while I was finding my way, maybe I was a 2-year man. But when I became a man, I put away those childish things and I started moving forward in my career. But getting back to the motivation of why you got into it is key in making a new start, reigniting that fire. When I got into real estate, I started out on a team. I started having success right away. And then the market would change a little bit and you get comfortable and then I would slow down. We are the meant to be, I'm going with a thought here, and you may have heard this today. We are meant to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. And many people are a thermometer, and all you do is reflect the temperature in the room. We should be a thermostat. I'm in control of my temperature. If I need to turn up the heat, I need to turn up the heat. My wife has that written on my bathroom mirror in blood red lipstick. I could show you a picture. It says, turn up the heat, baby. And she heard Ed Milet say that on one of his podcasts. She thought that was awesome. And she put it on my mirror, turn up the heat. That's to remind me every day when I look in the mirror, I'm a thermostat, not a thermometer. And so are you. Next, one of the things that we can sabotage our success with is poor time management. It took me a while hiring a coach that cost a lot of money to actually get my calendar under control. And as a high I on the DISC scale, I can be distracted very easily. I'm an interpersonal guy. I love talking relationships and I love shiny things and the next bright thing, and can get distracted easily. So I have to write things into my calendar that tell me, hey, it's time to make phone calls. This is a time you need to do a growth exercise. This is a time that's set aside for family time. This is faith time. This is appointment time. And I have to put those into my calendar and they set up notifications and they go off all day telling me what's next. So I get into the routine of doing the business tasks that are going to cause me to achieve my level of success and then add to that. Okay. So poor time management is one of the chief ways of losing your momentum, losing your drive. You get inundated with so many things, pulled in so many directions. You don't have the power to say no to people. And you have to say, I have an appointment right now. And in your calendar, your appointment may be family time. In your calendar, your phone, that may be phone call time, or it may be 15 minutes of downtime. And it's time for you to talk with a friend and just call a friend and chat, relax, or talk about time of the day. But that's, you know what that appointment can be? I'm talking with a friend. I'm in an appointment. That's time management. You don't give everyone else control of your calendar. You control your calendar. It's not the other way around. Put it in your calendar. Don't allow your time to get away, because it's very easy to do if you don't pay attention to it, and schedule it. Put it in your calendar. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, Mason, Cody. Your Peely motivation time every Wednesday morning, Cody. I got you, bro. And then the next one we want to talk about is lack of perseverance. Many of us get on fire, we start moving forward, and then we just don't persevere. We hit a roadblock and we give up. We come across a hurdle and it's hard to, the next hurdle looks higher than the last hurdle we jumped over. And it gets harder and harder and harder to jump over these hurdles. Or we've achieved this certain level of success. The money's coming in a little bit. You got some folding money in your wallet. Your bills are caught up. You're not really behind on anything. And you're like, I can just coast a little bit. That's a lack of perseverance. The next person who was behind you, if you look over your right shoulder, that person is fixing to overtake you and beat you to the finish line. Don't stop persevering. Keep your forward momentum. Move forward, move forward, move forward. Baby steps are still steps. Some days you take quantum leaps. Some days you take baby steps and little jumps, little hops, but don't stop. Persevere. Move forward quickly, firmly towards the goal. Persevere. Move forward. And then finally, the last one, ignoring feedback, the eighth topic, eighth item that causes us to sabotage our success, ignoring feedback. You think that you're smarter than everybody else. To a degree, we all do. We all suffer from this illness. I'm smarter than everyone else. I have friends that are smart, but I'm probably a little smarter. And that's, I mean, it's great to have positive motivation and positive self-talk. But if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you have smart friends, and you're smart if you do, you always need to be adding smarter people to your sphere, especially your top five. That's why I had lunch with this friend last week. Had it a great lunch. We both bounced ideas and stories about our past from each other, found out how much we had in common. But he has areas that he can help me grow in, and I have areas that I can help him grow in. We are not the same, because if we were, then one of us would be redundant and unnecessary, right? We all have something to share. We all have something to give, and we all have something to learn. So when you're in a group of people, especially your top five, and you get feedback on some things that are going, maybe they're not going right, or they could be going better, listen to those people. Listen to the feedback. Every time we show a house, my phone is set up through 3 different systems for us to give feedback or request feedback from the other agent that showed a property that we may have listed. I am one of the people that loves to leave feedback. It may be simple feedback that we looked at the house. It had a lot of great things about it. It just didn't have the right floor plan for my particular client. Whatever that feedback may be, if we are listing a house and people come to see it, many of them will not leave feedback. It's hard for anyone to grow or do better if you don't get feedback. If the house has a pet odor, we would like to know that. Maybe it has another odor, or maybe there's something that was wrong about the house, or something that they felt was needed corrected, and they didn't tell us that. Maybe the seller didn't make the beds, or they ran out and left dirty laundry everywhere, and they don't even tell us. They just get offended and go, this house is dirty. It's not for me. It's that easy. If you get good feedback, don't ignore that. Take it to heart, and that's how we grow. That's how we learn to do better. Always take good feedback to heart. Do not ignore it. Like I said, if you're smarter than everybody else, you need smarter friends. Guys, I hope this has helped you today. It's been one of the things that I have to keep constantly in front of me. Good morning, Lisa. I know that as busy as you are, you don't suffer from any of these. But if you do, watch the full show. Lisa Mayfield, one of my great friends, works at Chicago Title, the best title company in Amarillo. hands down, bar none. Lisa runs that office over there and does a great job for all of our clients. Chicago Title, giving them a shout out. This is not a paid sponsorship by Chicago Title, but anyway, I hope this has helped y'all today move forward. 8 items that can kill your momentum, cause you to cause business suicide, sabotage your success. Stay away from these. Take them to heart. Listen, listen, listen. Pay attention. And hopefully this will help you maintain your momentum, renew your vigor, your fervor, your exuberance about what you do. Revisiting, one of the key ones is revisiting your motivation. I always like to bring my clients back to motivation whenever we start having a hiccup along the way or something, hurdles we have to jump over, and they feel like they want to give up. They want to sabotage the deal. I have to bring them back to motivation and remind them why we are doing what we're doing, the importance of the home they wanted to raise their children in, the kitchen they wanted to cook in because they learned to cook from their grandmother or hanging on their mother's apron. These are the things that are important. Bring yourself back to motivation. That's probably one of these that I find is one of the most important of the 8. But I hope these helped you today, help you to remain steadfast and moving forward in your business towards your goals in your career. And if you have any other questions about this, or maybe you need some help with some motivation, drop me a comment, message me. I'm always happy to talk to somebody and share any other kind of topics, tips and tricks along the way, maybe that can help you stay motivated and moving forward. Don't suicide yourself in your career. This has been Patrick Lee with Midweek Motivation Live saying, remember, courage begins at the end of your comfort zone. Go out there and get a little uncomfortable today. Show some courage. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.